Hi there, Adam Benini, joined by our Bills and NFL insider, Vic Carucci. And the headline coming out of Orchard Park heading into this second preseason game with the Denver Broncos, Josh Allen will see action along with a number of the starters. Not all of them, but a good number of the starters, that according to head coach Sean McDermott. Vic, this is a bit surprising. I mean, quite frankly, if I'm in Sean McDermott's shoes, Josh Allen doesn't get even anywhere near the field. But new offensive coordinator, and he alluded to this, new voice in his head, all of those things. And Allen had suggested some preseason time might be valuable. Obviously, given where they feel they're at, they felt this was a necessary risk.
I don't ever think playing your franchise quarterback in the preseason is a necessary risk. It's a risk that has no reward. These are games that do not count in the standings. And there's only a downside, in my view, and that downside is injury. You know what Allen is. He's got nothing to show you as far as development. He's there. He's developed. The best I could make of this is that Sean McDermott may be dissatisfied with what he has seen in practice for the most part, or at least to the point where he says some fine-tuning is needed before the September 8th opener. But, Adam, we got a harsh reminder already about the dangers of playing starting quarterbacks in the preseason when you saw with the Jets, Zach Wilson entering his second season at quarterback, got the start against the Eagles, and then suffers a non-contact knee injury that could very well put him out for the multiple games at the start of the season. I think that should be the alarm for the Bills and other teams in the NFL. Yeah, keep your starters on the sidelines, or at least your starting quarterback on the sideline.
So I think back to when we had Ryan Fitzpatrick on Sports Talk Live after he'd announced his retirement, and we knew he was going into broadcasting, so we asked him to do some Bills analysis. And the first thing he pointed to, and when this comes from an accomplished NFL quarterback, I know we've talked about it, but when you hear it from a guy like Fitz, right, when he says, don't underestimate the challenge of replacing Brian Daboll as offensive coordinator, despite whatever relationship existed between Dorsey and Allen as quarterback's coach, whatever. And maybe this decision by McDermott speaks to what Fitz was talking about there.
Yeah, it probably does, because it isn't just about the functioning of Allen and the players on the field in practice that may not be fully satisfying the head coach. It's also Ken Dorsey and being the new play caller and the rhythm timing thing that goes into that. That's also what Fitz was referring to with us. Is all of those points are important. It requires time to get and become more expert at that. And this is all new to Ken Dorsey. But I think there must have been, and again, I didn't see it to the naked eye, there must have been some hiccups or something that happened with the speed with which plays were called in that first preseason game against the Colts last Saturday, with Case Keenum, Matt Barkley communicating with Dorsey, that led to Sean McDermott believing, okay, we really need to give Ken more of those reps, but let's get more of those play calling reps, but let's let him get them now with Josh Allen.
A couple of buzzwords that we've heard: rhythm and timing. So maybe for those who are watching here, take us inside that and how difficult that can be to establish. Those aren't givens when you talk, even with professional football players and high-level offenses.
Yeah, the best play callers in the NFL, current and past, will tell you that they develop a feel that they're seeing something in a bigger picture way than even the quarterback sees it, because they're watching, of course, how the defense responds to certain actions, certain plays, certain movement, whatever, and they're calling plays accordingly. And it is a feel thing. It is an anticipation. And you are setting up often what play you're going to call by a play you've called. You want every play to be successful, to gain a lot of yards, score a touchdown, whatever. But it is also just done for the sake of giving that defense something to think about, something to worry about. And then, boom, you hit them with another type of play that takes advantage of whatever they anticipated coming. So that play caller has to be inside the heads, not only of his quarterback and everyone on his offense, play to their strengths, but also that of the opposing defensive coordinator and the strengths and weaknesses of those players that he has studied all week long, or all in this case, all off season long, to anticipate what to do. So it doesn't come overnight. And I will tell you this, some of the best, like I'll use Charlie Weiss as an example when he was with the New England Patriots. Charlie Weiss never played quarterback at any appreciable level in the NFL. He was basically a student of the game before he became an outstanding play caller. Of course, it didn't hurt that he was calling plays for Tom Brady during that time. But I know from Tom Brady and others around the Patriots, they would marvel at his sense of timing, rhythm, and feel.
Yeah, so that's all of that. And there's a lot to what you just described there. It's a lot easier said than done. I mean, you talk about, when you call a second down play, you have to have in mind, based on the outcome of that play, what your options are going to be for third down and get that in immediately. So there can be no lag there. And I get the sense, and to an extent have heard that's a lot of what they're working through right now. So obviously McDermott feels there's some type of gap there they need to try and overcome, and it's worth the risk to put Josh Allen in the game, and obviously other starters as well. So let's go beyond the quarterback at this point in that whole situation. What else are you looking at? Second preseason game, cornerback comes to mind. We'll continue to watch that situation, and maybe we get a better sense of what they invested in terms of the pass rush in this game as well.
Yeah, I absolutely want to see much more of Kaiir Elam and how he is holding up in his second NFL level action in the preseason. I want to see how that corresponds with the rest of the secondary, most of the starting secondary that's in there, minus Tre'Davious White, and how they're picking up that slack, how they're leaning on each other, and just basically the feel that they have for NFL-style receivers, jamming them at the line. And in Elam's case, it's so interesting to see how he plays away from the line as well as up close, because playing up close is something he did in college, something he does well. But in that Leslie Frazier defense, there is a lot of zone to cover. And that, too, is something that he's being taught and something to get used to. And then the pass rush. I absolutely want to see what Von Miller looks like in a Bills uniform beyond practice, and those younger pass rushers, Greg Rousseau and company, and then what they are able to do with Jordan Phillips paired with Ed Oliver, and then Shaq Lawson on the edge, how much action he gets, and then especially the young players getting the chance to spend a practice week or a good part of it with Bruce Smith's mentoring, the Hall of Famer, showing them moves and showing them different repertoire that he had as a pass rusher. I think it would still hold up in 2022. So all of that, I think, will be fascinating to see in a preseason game.
All right, Vic, thank you. As always, Bills Broncos, 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, Highmark Stadium. And once again, Josh Allen and many of the starters will see what Sean McDermott describes as a healthy amount of action. We'll see how that actually plays out. For Vic Carucci, I'm Anna Bonini, Channel 2 Sports.